All right, so in this video, I'm going to talk about get ready balancing chemical equation number 3, which is single displacement and double displacement. So some people will say single replacement and double replacement. It's the same thing. So first of all, I want you to read the screen here, pause the video, and then copy the notes here. And before I continue, all right, so I'm now assuming you already got the notes down. So I'm going to talk about the left-hand side. I'm going to talk about the left-hand side, all right? Right here. So when the left-hand side looks at that when you have water, H2O on one side, and then you have OH and H on the other side. Like this H2O not necessarily always on the left, and OH and H not always on the right. They can be switched as long as one side you have H2O, the other side have OH and H. You always split the water into OH, parentheses with the 1, and then H to indicate that I have one OH and one H. Because when you combine the OH and H, is actually water, H2O. So we just want to split it, and then we can see the OH is one of the poly one. And the other notes on the right-hand side is you want to treat all the polyatomic ions as a whole. So the polyatomic that I gave you is on the pink sheet. So whenever you recognize a poly, you always put the parentheses around the poly, and then you put a subscript 1 outside if there's no subscript. So for example, H3PO4, I recognize PO4 is a poly, so I will put a parenthesis outside, and then I'm going to put the 1 outside to indicate that I have one PO4. You don't want to separate the PO4 into 1P and then 4O because it will take you a long time to balance. Okay, so you want to just treat it as a whole, and then you say that I get one PO4. Here's another example, CuCO3 parenthesis 2. So parenthesis and the 2 is already there, so you can see that I can read it is 2CO3. Okay. So you want to show your work by competing, drawing the table and competing for balanced equation. So the first step you want to do again is I want to put the equal sign on the top of the arrow, okay, and also the LR. And then second thing is, again, you want to recognize that if you have any compound and poly. So I do, first of all, I do have a poly. Okay, my poly is OH right here. I'm going to do a better job. So I'm going to put parentheses around. And then I'm going to put the 1 here. Okay, and then if I see water, I will split the water into 2, which is OH. Right, parenthesis 1. Parenthesis, and then I put 1, and then I have an H here. So maybe I'll erase this a little better so I can put it over a little bit more right here so you can see a little better. All right, so when I see water, I split into OH1, and then any poly, you're going to put parentheses around. And also, I'm going to use the green pen to put a bracket, okay, outside the compound. Okay, so we're going to do it that way. Okay, now we can start. All right, so we first of all fill in the table. I have K in the table. Here, you no longer say H because I already take the water to be OH and H. So I will say I have a parenthesis OH. Always put a parenthesis around the poly, and then I have an H. Okay, so we no longer say H and O, right? And on the left-hand side, we're going to start to use blue pen to write down where we start. Okay. Sorry about that. So on my left-hand side, I got 1K, and then I got 1 OH. Oh, is it too thick? So maybe I should make it thicker. Maybe we can make it a little thicker. You can see a little better. Okay. So I got 1K on the left, 1 OH on the left, and then I get 1 H on the left. On the right-hand side, I also get 1K, 1 OH, but this time I get 2H. All right. So the first thing you want to do is to balance. So the K are balanced, the OH are balanced, but the H is not balanced. So how can you make the H balance? Remember, you don't want to directly change any number on the table. You want to put the numbers on the top of the equation first before you change the number in the table. So I want to make the left-hand side H will be 2. So how can I do it? I have to put a 2 in front of the OH and 2 because I want to make the H is 2. So I will put the 2 in front of H2O. Then I will also put the 2 in front of that to indicate that I need 2H. So when you do it, you are not just changing the H, but you're also changing the OH. Okay? So I change the OH to be 2. And I also make the H to be 2 also. Okay? Remember, when you put the 2, you have to change everything in the bracket. Okay? So then now you can see that my H is balanced, but my OH now is no more balanced. So I have to change my OH on the right hand side to be 2 by putting a 2 in front of KOH. So since I put a bracket, I'm not just changing the K, I'm not just changing the OH, I also change the K. So I will change the K to be 2 and also change the OH to be 2. Okay, now you can see that everything is balanced except the K is not balanced. So I'm going to use flat pen. I'm going to change this to be 2K by changing this to be 2. Now go back to look at your table. K 2 and 2 balance, OH 2 and 2 balance, and then H 2 and 2 balance. Everything's balanced. Finally, look it up. Do you have any blank left over? I do, which is H2, so I'm going to put the 1. So don't put the 1 until you make sure that everything's balanced. And then you can also see that 2, 2, 2, 1, those numbers are the smallest multiple possible without need to reduce, okay? Now I'm going to go to the right-hand side. Oops. I'm going to go to the right-hand side to make it a little bigger for you to see. All right, so now we're going to go to the second question. So we're going to do something. So we're going to make the water split into OH, parentheses, 1, and then I have H. Okay, now you can see that the only way you want to split water is when you have H2O on one side and then H and OH on the other side. If you just have H2O on one side, you don't have OH and H on the other side, you don't want to split your water. You only split the water when you have these three things take place, like present at the same time. If you just have water, don't split, okay? Only when you have these three things together, then you can split. So I split the water, and then I also want to, let me double check what color did I use? Okay, I use a black color, green color. So I'm going to put the green color for putting the bracket around the compound. So around the H2O, I'm going to put a bracket. And also, here the CaOH2 is already in the parentheses, so with the 2 outside. And so then the only thing I need to do is put the bracket outside the compound. All right, so now I can start to write down what elements I have. I got Ca, and then I get parentheses OH, and I also get the H. So we're going to start with the blue pen. So on the left-hand side, I got 1 Ca, 2 OH, okay, be careful, I got 2 OH right here, and then I got 2H on the left side. On the right side, I got 1 Ca, 1 OH, and then 1 H, all right? Then I'm going to start to do balancing. So you can look it up that Ca is balanced, but OH and H is not balanced. So how can I make the right-hand side with the 2? So pretty much I will put 2 H2O, right? 2 right here. Then I can make OH and H2. So I'm going to change that my OH on the right hand side to be 2, and then my H on the right hand side to be 2. Now you can see that I only did one step, make it CA balance good, OH balance good, H balance good. So I'm balanced. So right now I only need to put the rest of the numbers. I'm going to change that to be different thing. I'm going to change it to be black pen. So right now everything's balanced. I can put 1, 1, 1 there. Okay, that's balanced. Now on the bottom right here, I also can split the water because I have water on the left, OH on the H on the right hand side. So I'm going to first split the water. Will be OH parentheses 1, and then I have H. And I'm going to put the equal sign right here. I don't have room, so I'm going to put the equal sign like this. Oops, sorry, I'm going to do a little better job. So I'm going to put the equal sign right there. Okay, and then I also want to put a bracket around the compound. So I have Al OH3 is a bracket. So this one, H2O, even I split it, also is a compound, so I put a bracket. And then the AlOH3, the OH3 is already in the 3, so I'm good. So I don't need to put parentheses, then the number because it's already there. So right now on my table, I get Al, parentheses OH, and then the H. Okay, so I'm going to start to do the numbers. Sorry about that. So on the left hand side, I got 1 Al, 1 OH, and then 1 H. On my right hand side, I got 1 Al, 3 OH, and then I got 2 H. Okay, so then the Al is balanced, but the others are not balanced. So what you're gonna do is actually you can do either one. You can try to balance the OH, or you can balance the H. So whichever A you want to do. So let's say I'm gonna balance the OH. So how can I make the left hand side with 3? I will put 3 outside water here. So I'm going to put 3 water here. So I will change my OH and my H. So I put 3 H2O in the front. Then I will change my OH to H to be 3 also. So I change my OH to be 3. And then I change my H to be 3. Okay. So right now you see that Al's balance, OH balanced, but H is not balanced. So now I don't know if you remember, I get an even number and an odd number. The best way to do is multiply them to get a 6. Okay, so 3 and 2 I multiply to be 6. So that means I want the right hand side to be 6. All right, I want the right hand side to be 6. So how can I make the right hand side to be 6? I have to change my H here to be 3. Then I can make this to be 6. Right? And then on the left hand side, I also want the H to be 6. I also want the H to be 6. So I'm going to put the changes this number again. So I'm going to change that to be 6. Okay, and change this to be 6. It's okay that you put the numbers in, you can change it again. Okay, so I'm going to do a little better. So this will be 6. So now you be careful. I changed the OH as well, besides the H. So I'm going to change my OH to be 6, and then I change my H to be 6. Now it looks like the OH is not balanced, right? The OH is not balanced again. So how can I make the OH balanced? Right now, OH, I have 3 on the right and 6 on the left. So I need to make the right-hand side to be 6 OH. So how can I make the right-hand side to be 6 OH? I will put 2 in front of this AlOH3. So then I will change everything in the compound, right? So because I want OH to be 6, right? So I will gonna make the Al to be 2, and then my OH, right? 2 times 3 now becomes 6. So then now my OH is balanced, but then now my Al is not balanced. So I gotta go back to make my Al's good. So how can I make them Al again? Balance. I'm gonna put the 2 right here. So make them Al to be 2. All right. Now check everything. All right. Al 2 and 2 balance. OH 6 and 6 balance. And then H 6 and 6 balance. So finally, you can see that everything is balanced. 2, 6, 2, 3 is the most simplified form. You cannot change anything. So this question is a little bit complicated because you put the numbers on and then you have to go back to fix it. That's fine, okay? No problem on that. You can change the numbers anytime. Right here, the number 7, so I don't have water, but I have the equal sign, so I'm going to put the equal sign right here and also right here, and no water, but I do have the compound, so I'm going to put the compound bracket around NaCl and then NaF for compound. Okay, so I'm going to put down, I get Na, I get Cl, and I get F. Okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning. So on my left-hand side, I got 1 Na, 1 Cl. Oh, I'm going to do a little better. 1 Cl, and then 2F. On my right-hand side, I got 1 Na, 2 Cl, and then 1F. So you see that N is balanced, but Cl and F is not. So you want to choose any one you want to start to balance. So let's say I'm going to balance my Cl. So I'm going to balance my Cl by changing the NaCl. All right, so I'm going to put the 2 in front of NaCl to make my Cl2, right? But I also need to change my Na. So my Na will become 2, my Cl will become 2. So now Cl is balanced, but Na and F is not balanced. So how can I make Na and F balance? Is I'm going to put the 2 in front of NaCl, right? So make then Na on the right-hand side will be 2, and then the F on the right-hand side will be 2. Now you can see Na 2 and 2 balance, Cl 2 and 2 balance, and then F balance. So you look up, do I have any numbers left over? I do. Right? So if you want, I can actually go back to use a, I can go back to use a different color if you want to see. I'm going to use a black pen so you can see a little better. I'm going to use a black pen to check. It's too big. Black pen. So you can see that I check, right? I check everything's balanced, but now I have some blank things, so I'm going to put the 1 there. And 2, 1, 2, 1 is the most simplified. No reducing. Okay. Now on the bottom, double displacement is actually the same thing. You just need to recognize, do you have any poly? Do you have any compound? So I do have compound. So I'm going to put the bracket around all the compound. Okay. And also I'm going to put the equal sign on the top of the arrow and also on the AR, LR. And then I'm going to put what kind of elements I have. I got BA, I got S, I got PT, and I get F. Okay, and I'm going to start with, on the left hand side, I got 1 BA, 1 S, 1 PT, and 2 F. On the right hand side, I got 1 BA, 1 S, 1 PT, and then 2 F. Now, if you see that actually, hey, Mrs. Chan, this is already balanced. Yes, it is already balanced. So what does that mean? You can just put the 1 everywhere. It's already balanced. It's fine. Okay. And last one right here. I'm going to put the, find out the poly things first. So I'm going to use a red pen to find a poly one. I do have a poly, PO4. Sorry. So how about if I want to make it much bigger for me to show you. So I'm going to use a bracket, all right, to indicate that this is a poly. After that, I'm going to put the 1 outside to say that I get 1 PO4. OH2, I get 2 OH. OH here is a poly. Isopropylases, I put the 1 outside. And then I got 2 PO4. And I put equal sign on the top here and also right here. And then I can also put the parentheses, the bracket for the compound. So basically they're all compound. So I'm going to put the bracket outside. So I figured out that many people forgot to put a bracket and then they messed up every equation because they forgot to take care of everything. So make sure you put a bracket around to indicate that, okay, I have a compound. And then I'm going to start to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so I'm going to start to write down. I get Na, parenthesis PO4. So here I'm going to put the 4 in the smaller letter. And then I get Ca, and then parenthesis OH close. All right, so now we can start to write down how many we have. So my Na on the left, I got 3. On the left, I got 1 PO4, I got 1 Ca, and I got 2 OH. On the right-hand side, I got 1 Na, 2 PO4, 3 Ca, and then 1 OH. You can start with anyone you want to balance. You can start with Na, PO4, Ca, OH. You can start with anyone. So I'm going to start with maybe I'm going to start with Na. I want to balance Na. So on the left-hand side, I got 3 Na. On the right-hand side, I only got 1 Na. So I want to put 3 here. Actually, I don't want to use this color. I'm going to use red color. Okay, so how can I make the Na balance? Okay, on the right-hand side, I want to put the 3 right here to make 3 Na, but then I have to change the whole compound. I'm going to change that. So I'm going to put the 3 in front of NaOH, but then I have to change the whole thing. I change my Na to be 3, and then I change my OH to be 3. All right, then N is balanced, but we have something else not balanced. So PO4, Ca, and OH, none of them is balanced. So choose anyone. Okay, I'm going to choose PO4. So PO4, on the left, I get 1. On the right, I get 2. So actually, I can change the PO4 on the left-hand side to be 2, right? So how can I make it? I'm going to put the 2. I'm going to put the 2. Wait. Okay, so I'm going to put the, how come I cannot write anything? I'm going to put the 2. How come I cannot write anything? So I'm going to try to put the 2 in front of the Na3PO4 to make the PO4 2, right? So here will be 2 on the left, right? But then I also change my Na to be 6. Okay. Now, let's say what else I can do. You know what? My Na is not balanced again. Can I change my Na? Sure. Or you can change your Ca, right? Which one you want to do. So maybe I'll change my Ca. Or I can change my Na anyone you want. Okay. So let's say I'm going to change my Ca. I'm going to change my Ca. So we'll be, make it 3. Okay. So I'm going to put the 3 on the Ca. So make the Ca become 3 on the left. And then make the OH become 6. Okay. Now I want to look it up. You know what? My Na on the right-hand side is not balanced. Okay, my Na and the OH is not balanced. So I want to change my Na again. So I can go back. Okay, on the right-hand side, I want to make my Na to become 6. So I cross this out to make this 6. When I make this 6, I change everything. I change my Na to be 6. I change my OH to be 6 on the right-hand side. Okay, now, you know what? I think I got it. All right, because my Na, both of them are 6. My PO4, both 2. Ca, both 3. And then my OH, both 6. So now it's all balanced. So then finally, I can put the 1. So now you can see that there's some questions that you need to go back to change. And depending on the order of your the balancing, so sometimes your work will be different in here, the table. But your final answer should be the same. So it doesn't really matter which atom you change first, which atom you change later, as long as you put the number on the top of the equation with the bracket outside first before you changing the table. Do not change the table and then go back to change the number on the equation because you flip the process. Okay, so I'm going to show you. This is the final page of the work we are done. This is the get ready balancing 3.